Recently, I was looking on YouTube and I was recommended this channel. Their name is Earthly and they have around 95.3 thousand subscribers. And I mean, they've been uploading videos for around 2 years now. But as I started to watch these videos, I immediately noticed that these videos were AI generated and had many mistakes in them. So in today's video, I just want to look at a few of their videos and debunk some of the things they're saying and show why you should spend time making YouTube videos, don't just generate it with AI. Also guys, face reveal I guess. Expect my normal videos to not have my face, but I feel like for this format, being faceless doesn't really work, so. So let's start with their most popular video, and this video is named, "It's Finally Happening! Africa is splitting into two continents." So let's just watch it.
New photographs have shown just how deep the damage is as parts of Africa are physically splitting apart.
Okay, so immediately, very crappy AI voice. Now this was 2 years ago, published March 26, 2023, so it's not surprising that it has a bad AI voice, because at that time, it wasn't that great. So immediately, it's not looking good for this video.
Scientists say that Africa is peeling apart into two parts that will eventually lead to the formation of a new ocean and give rise to a new continent. While the process will take millions of years to complete, this will split present-day Somalia and parts of Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania from the rest of the continent. This radical change in Earth's landscape will come with many consequences, both positive and disruptive, and only time will tell if humans will be around by that time.
So yeah, all of this information from the intro is pretty accurate. There's nothing really wrong with it. Of course, there is the bad AI voice, but for now, this video is fine.
Let's explore what the world will look like after the Great Big Rift, millions of years into the future.
Not really called the Great Big Rift.
To grasp the formidable truth about this occurrence, first we need to understand how and why Africa is splitting in two. The phenomenon responsible for tearing apart.
So this clip definitely looks like AI. I mean, just by looking at it, it doesn't resemble any landmasses really. I can't see what this resembles. Also, let's look back at this clip. You can see how the coastlines kind of just squish instead of like move. And if this was a render, they would move instead of just squish like that. So I think this is AI, but I'm not 100% sure.
It is when a single tectonic plate rips apart into two or more tectonic plates, separated by divergent plate boundaries. This phenomenon can be dated at least 138 million years back.
There are many examples of continents rifting before that. For example, the mid-continent rift in North America is estimated to be 1 billion years old, so this is really not the first case of this.
The colossal breakup of the future is associated with the East African Rift System, a 56 kilometers or 35-mile long crack that emerged in Ethiopia.
Okay, so this rift is definitely not 56 kilometers long. The entire East African Rift System comes out to be around 6,000 kilometers, so, and I know where he got this number from, but let's move on.
5-mile long crack that emerged in Ethiopia's desert in 2005.
So again, this rift has been around for around 20 million years, and I know where this guy got this information from. There was an actual crack in Ethiopia that opened up in 2005, and it was the length that he said. But the entire rift is way longer and way older.
It is one of the largest rifts in the world that stretches downward for thousands of kilometers through several countries in Africa, including.
So it says it stretches for thousands of kilometers, just seconds after it says it stretches for like 50.
That have already been separating for some time. Spanning over 3,000 kilometers,
Okay, so this is something that I think is important to mention. This clip here, this is not the East African Rift at all. This is the San Andreas fault line. And so personally, I wouldn't have included it, even though it does represent a fault. It doesn't represent the fault we're talking about, you know?
The potential split made the headlines worldwide for the first time when a large crack in the Kenyan Rift Valley emerged in 2018.
I would say it made headlines for the first time when the Ethiopian crack opened in 2005, but.
According to scientists, the Great Split won't happen anytime soon, as the Arabian Plate is shifting away from Africa at a rate of 1 inch per year. It will take millions.
So there they mentioned how the Arabian Plate is moving away from Africa at 1 inch per year, but then they showed the Somali Plate moving away from Africa. And the Somali Plate's actually way slower. It's moving like 10 millimeters a year. So I don't know why they mentioned the Arabian Plate there.
The new ocean will take at least 5 million to 10 million years to form, which could eventually give few landlocked countries in Africa their own coastlines.
Assuming those countries exist, which they probably won't.
Now, assuming that millions of years down the line, nation-states will still exist in the form they do now.
There you go. But they won't. So, and this entire next section is clearly here to just pad the runtime. I mean, this video is 8 minutes and 7 seconds long, and your video needs to be 8 minutes for mid-roll ads. I really don't like it when YouTubers artificially expand their videos to be 8 minutes, and this is exactly what this guy is doing.
6 landlocked countries, namely Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo is not landlocked. It has a tiny strip of land on the Atlantic Ocean, so.
But according to geologists, the smaller of the emergent continents may drift away from the rest of the continent.
Why does it say that again? You already said that like 5 times.
Depending on how the rift happens, there is the possibility of new nations forming, old nations merging, or completely breaking apart.
Again, this is useless to mention because geopolitics will not really be determined by the rift at all, assuming that humans are even alive then, which there's no way to know if we will be.
Geologists predict that Madagascar will itself break apart into smaller islands. Quite possibly.
So this is another thing that I have a problem with in this video, is that they just say, geologists say. They don't provide any sources, they don't show any research. And if you look in the description of this video, there is 0 sources at all.
A new coastline just in their front yard would cost the countries millions of dollars in evacuation.
This is so annoying. They're clearly just trying to pad the runtime. The countries will not have to evacuate because this is happening over millions of years. Why would they have to evacuate for something like that?
It is to be noted that the Democratic Republic of Congo has a tiny sliver of Atlantic coastline, but it remains unused.
But that they're still not landlocked. They still have a coastline.
It also means the countries can finally be directly connected to subsea internet cables if that technology will not have been bypassed by then.
Exactly. You say if that technology has not been bypassed by then. There's no way to know this, and I don't think it should be included in the video. It's just clearly trying to get to 8 minutes.
If we look into the distant future, would the two continents remain connected, or would they split up like North and South America?
So first off, North and South America are connected. It's called the Land Bridge of Panama. But also this AI does somewhat bring up a good point, but doesn't explain it at all, is that we don't know officially if Africa will fully split up. The rift in Africa could become inactive like the mid-continent rift of North America and eventually just stop splitting apart, although it is much more likely that it does fully split.
In addition, Africa is the most impacted region when it comes to displacement.
Padding the runtime.
As the plates continue to split in the future, this phenomenon will result in the displacement of communities, settlements, and various flora and fauna.
No way to know that for sure.
These changes will impact their habitats due to climate change, resulting in environmental degradation.
Climate change and the rift are 2 separate things. I mean, their habitats could be affected by climate change, but the rift has nothing also to do with that, so.
Rifting is a very slow process that, most of the time, goes about splitting Africa without anybody even noticing, as it happens over the course of millions of years.
Exactly. If it happens without anybody noticing, then you don't really need to talk about how human geography will be affected in like 20 million years, because there's no way to know that.
Who knows whether humanity will be around to see any of these changes, but it doesn't look too hopeful.
Wow. A little bit of existentialism at the end of this AI video.
But discussing the possibilities of the future is important as it may come earlier than humans think.
No, it won't. It's not like this rift is going to start going at like 10 kilometers per hour. This thing is still going to take millions of years.
What are your thoughts on Africa's split?
Okay, so that was their most popular video. And as you can tell, it had a lot of issues. And interestingly, the video only has 835 comments. And for a video with 1.9 million views, that is definitely not normal. So you can tell that Earthly here is blocking any comments that say like AI or maybe even comments that just prove him wrong. But as I was scrolling through their YouTube page, I noticed something. Something that they posted 8 months ago caught my eye. The giant crack that's splitting Africa in two just got bigger. So it's about the same topic. So let's watch this video from 8 months ago and see if it is any better.
Imagine standing on the edge of a colossal crack in the Earth's surface.
So again, you can tell it's an AI voiceover. This one's better, and that's clearly just because AI has gotten better in the past 2 years.
Beneath your feet, tectonic forces are at work, stretching and
So I also don't know whether this render is AI generated. It looks like it, but it also could just be a low quality render.
What does this mean for the people, ecosystems, and global geography?
So again, we don't know what this will mean for the people or ecosystems, and I don't think that's important to mention. But this intro, again, is pretty good. I mean, I couldn't really find any factual errors there, but the video gets worse as we go along again.
The East African Rift is a tectonic plate boundary zone, where the African plate is rifting into two smaller plates, the Somali plate and the Nubian plate. This process, known as continental rifting, occurs as a result of divergent tectonic forces that pull the Earth's crust apart. The rift system extends
So again, they're talking about how it forms. I would definitely go into more detail if I was making a video. I mean, in my Falklands video, I go into more detail on how rifting works.
approximately 6,000 kilometers from northeastern Ethiopia
They got the length right this time. I'll give that to them.
to Mozambique in southeastern Africa. The rift began forming about 25 million years ago.
They also got the date right this time. So they are slightly improving. But is that because AI got better or because this channel got better?
The East African Rift is divided into two main branches, the Eastern Rift and the Western Rift.
And these are also called the Gregory Rift and the Albertine Rift as well. I would have mentioned that if it was my video, but it's not.
At the northern end of the rift lies the Afar Triple Junction, a geological intersection where three tectonic plates meet, the African plate, the Arabian plate, and the Somali plate. This junction is a hotspot for tectonic activity and is considered a critical area for studying the dynamics of rifting. The thinning of the crust in this region is so pronounced that new oceanic crust is beginning to form, signaling the early stages of ocean basin development. The East African Rift is
Yeah, so I mean, their geology is surprisingly fine, you know? Like, all of that information was accurate, at least as far as my knowledge goes. But now we are at 3 minutes, and they basically explained how Africa is splitting in half.
The rift's volcanism and earthquakes are not.
That video on the left is definitely AI. You can just see that it's clearly AI.
The rift hosts some of the most iconic and active volcanoes in Africa. These include Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania,
Not active.
the tallest mountain in Africa, and a dormant stratovolcano.
Is that it? I swear that's an AI video of Mount Kilimanjaro. The trees look so blurry. I think they also used an AI video of Mount Kilimanjaro. Why would they do that? There's plenty of stock videos out there.
Occasionally, larger seismic events occur, causing damage to infrastructure.
So I looked it up, and this image is from a Japanese earthquake, not an earthquake around the East African Rift. And you'd think if you were trying to prove how earthquakes cause damage in the region, you would try and find an image of earthquakes causing damage in the region, but nope.
And posing risks to human
And this one's from the Philippines, so again.
settlements. The East African Rift represents the initial stages of a process that could ultimately divide the African continent into two separate landmasses.
So why are they just restating this? Also, the narrator switched voices slightly, so it seems like a new video essentially just started, right?
This rifting is driven by convection currents in the Earth's mantle.
Yeah, they're just reiterating the same stuff they mentioned like 2 minutes ago.
Similar to how the Atlantic Ocean formed when South America and Africa drifted apart.
So again, they're just mentioning this stuff.
If you look at the west coast of Africa,
So South America has African countries, and Africa has South American countries. Okay, so it seems like they stole this map from Reddit, but why specifically this map? Why would they choose this one? There are plenty of maps out there that include both Africa and South America in one. Why did they choose the map with the goofy borders? This is so baffling.
assuming that millions of years down the line, nation-states will still exist in the form they do now, here is what we expect would happen when Africa finally splits into two.
So why are we assuming again? Again, we're padding the runtime. But this video is 2 minutes longer than the last one. So I feel like that's just so unnecessary. Why do you need to pad the runtime even more?
But according to geologists, the smaller of the emergent continents may drift away from the rest of the continent.
Didn't they say that last time?
But according to geologists, the smaller of the emergent continents may drift away from the rest of the continent.
That's exactly the same thing.
Depending on how the rift happens, there is the possibility of new nations forming, old nations merging, or completely breaking apart.
They mentioned that too. Wait.
The smaller of the emergent continents may drift away from the rest of the continent. Depending on how the rift happens, there is the possibility of new nations forming, old nations merging, or completely breaking apart.
They're reusing the exact same script. Why are they reusing that specific part of the video? They gotta be just padding the runtime, but they're using the exact same script. It's different editing this time, but they're using the exact same script with the new narrator. That's crazy.
The biodiversity of the region will also undergo dramatic changes. As terrestrial ecosystems give way to marine environments, new coral reefs, fisheries, and saltwater ecosystems will emerge.
There's no way to know for sure if like coral reefs will emerge. Coral reefs need like a very specific set of shallow water, and over here this wouldn't be shallow since a new crust is being created. I don't think coral reefs would really form here.
The emergence of new coastlines will unlock a myriad of opportunities for economic growth. There will be far more maritime activities and a possible shorter route to other parts of the world.
They mentioned this a minute ago.
Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions.
That video on the right is AI.
Meanwhile, Africa is the most impacted region when it comes to displacement, with a larger number of countries affected.
We're mentioning this again? We're mentioning displacement again? Something that's irrelevant to the rift, by the way. It's relevant to geopolitics, but the rift has no part in the displacement of people. I can't believe we're mentioning this again.
Many plant and animal species that are unable to adapt to the new environment may face extinction, while others will become endangered due to habitat changes.
That's another repeated sentence. Hold on.
Some plant and animal species will become extinct, while others will become endangered due to habitat changes.
Exact same sentence right there.
But discussing the possibilities of the future is important, as it may come earlier than humans think.
They're saying that again. Oh no. No matter what, this is happening in millions of years. It's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, right? My thoughts are that these two videos were bad. And even though the one we just watched was more factually correct, I guess, it was definitely worse in my opinion. I mean, they copied entire sections from the previous video. Also, they're clearly just trying to copy their most popular video, right? But I want to take a look at just one more video here, and it was actually the video that got recommended to me originally. And this video is titled, "The Pacific Plate is Cracking! A Massive Geologic Disaster is Unfolding." So let's take a look at this video. It's 12 minutes long. So hopefully that means it's 12 minutes of substantial information and they're not just padding their own time.
Beneath the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean lies a restless giant, the Pacific Plate. Covering more than a third of Earth's surface, it is the single largest tectonic plate on the planet, bigger than all of North America and Eurasia combined. For decades,
That doesn't sound right. Hold on. So I just added up the first size that appears after you look up North American plate size and Eurasian plate size, and it becomes 143.7 million square kilometers. And how big did he say the Pacific plate was? Okay, so it's 103 million square kilometers. So Eurasia and North America combined comes out to be around 40 million square kilometers bigger.
For decades, geologists considered it a stable, unbreakable slab of rock.
No geologists did not consider it to be stable. I mean, there's like volcanoes completely surrounding it, and in the middle, there's the volcanoes of Hawaii, so definitely not considered stable.
What if deep beneath the waves, the very foundation of the Pacific Ocean is beginning to crack?
Okay, so before we move on, I want to talk about exactly what they're referring to. The cracking of the Pacific Plate, right? So the entire idea that the Pacific Plate is cracking originated with this one article here named Sin Drift Plate Tectonics, and this is by Erkan Gün and Russell Piskuiwek. Probably said that wrong. And essentially, what this article investigates is the strange stretching and ripping apart of several different oceanic plateaus while the Pacific Plate is still moving, or sin drift. And it's not normal for these types of volcanism or faults to form while oceanic plates are still moving, right? So they looked at these different plateaus in the Pacific Ocean, and what they found is that these plateaus were being ripped apart. And they found this to be caused by a very interesting mechanism which essentially pulls this Pacific Plate in half. So what happens is the Pacific Plate is subducting underneath the surrounding plates, and it is essentially creating a pulley that is creating tension on these oceanic plateaus and causing them to actively rip apart. And honestly, this is a really interesting topic for a video. But let's just keep in mind this article as we're watching the video.
The Pacific Plate, once seen as Earth's most resilient slab of crust, may be fracturing under the immense stress.
I don't think that the Pacific Plate is considered Earth's most resilient slab of crust. I mean, oceanic plates in general are usually thinner than continental crust.
Reshaping coastlines, awakening dormant volcanoes.
That's the same AI generated volcano clip as the African video from 8 months ago, so.
Making it the central engine of Earth's most dramatic tectonic activity. To its east, it plunges beneath North and South America at the Peru-Chile Trench and Aleutian Trench.
I wouldn't exactly say the Aleutian Trench is to the east. I would definitely consider that to be the north.
To the south, it interacts with the Indo-Australian Plate along the Tonga.
Indu, just the AI narrator messing up.
Its northern boundary includes the famously dangerous San Andreas Fault in California.
So I would consider that to be western. The northern boundary is the Aleutians, as I previously mentioned.
And helped form the fiery ring of fire that girdles the ocean with volcanoes and earthquakes. For most of the 20th century, the theory of plate...
The whooshing is so loud. Why is the whooshing so loud?
These findings hinted at a more complex reality. The Pacific Plate, vast though it is, may be crisscrossed with hidden fractures.
Not maybe and not hidden. It is crisscrossed with observable fractures. Honestly, visible if you map out the seafloor. These faults are very visible.
The central Pacific near Hawaii has experienced swarms of small quakes that do not neatly align with plate edges.
But that's obviously because of a hot spot that's there. And I think it'll get to that. But also, I just want to take the time. We are 4 minutes and 45 seconds through this video, and there's been a significant lack of mentioning anything that study mentioned, the main study about the topic of this video.
The very fact that quakes can propagate within what was...
Here's that one clip again that I can't tell whether it's AI or just a crappy render.
The Hawaiian Emperor Seamount Chain, stretching thousands of kilometers across the Pacific, records the Pacific Plate's slow journey over a stationary hotspot in the mantle.
Okay, you see, this is true. Like, that's how the Hawaiian Islands were formed. But that's also not how the Pacific Plate is cracking. If this video was like the interesting geology of the Pacific Plate, then yeah, mention it all you want. But this video is specifically about how the Pacific Plate is cracking. And I haven't seen a single mention about the forces that are doing that.
One of the most striking signs of the Pacific Plate's instability is the presence of microplates in the South Pacific. Between the Pacific and Indo-Australian boundaries lie several smaller plates, such as the Easter, Juan Fernandez.
So, first off, the Eastern and Juan Fernandez did not form between the Indo-Australian and the Pacific Plate. It formed between the Nazca and the Pacific Plate, but let's continue.
These fragments were once considered anomalies, but geophysical evidence shows they are products of the Pacific Plate itself breaking apart.
So this is the problem with what this AI is saying here. It is saying that these microplates here broke away from the Pacific Plate. So let's just take the example of these microplates here. This is not the Pacific Plate cracking. These are actually the Indo-Australian Plate cracking. And the reason we know this is because the Pacific Plate is under this region. It is being subducted under the Indo-Australian Plate, and it has caused these microplates to be broken off and formed as their own microplates. So at least in this case, it's wrong to say that the Pacific Plate is breaking off into its own microplates.
Tens of millions of years ago, another massive oceanic plate, the Farallon Plate, dominated.
Okay, so now we're on to talking about the Farallon Plate, and there is still a significant lack of mentioning anything about those plateaus that are ripping apart due to the subduction.
The Pacific Plate may be undergoing a similar process, though it is far larger and more resilient than the Farallon was.
I wouldn't say that the Pacific Plate is more resilient than the Farallon Plate. They were both chunks of oceanic crust. It's still being subducted under these continents, so.
Any major reorganization of stresses within the Pacific Plate would ripple outward to these population centers.
Again, that's true, but also this stuff is happening over millions of years.
Magnifying the risk of catastrophic disaster.
And I don't know what movie this is from, but this wouldn't happen.
Some geologists envision it eventually splitting into two or more massive plates.
I don't like how they're just drawing random lines and showing it as splitting as that. I think it would be more helpful if you specifically showed the places where it was splitting. And of course, we only have 2 minutes left of this video. Still hasn't mentioned the study whatsoever.
Scientists are particularly watchful of regions like the Cascadia subduction zone off the Pacific Northwest.
Which, by the way, that's not caused by the Pacific Plate. That's caused by the Juan de Fuca Plate colliding with the North American Plate, not the Pacific Plate at all.
Much like the ancient Farallon Plate that once dominated the Pacific.
Farallon? You said it right earlier, AI. Get it right this time.
Intraplate earthquakes and hotspot-driven cracks suggest that.
Okay, so this is saying that the cracks were caused by the hotspots, which, as I told you in the study, the main study that this is relating to, but hasn't been mentioned, that's not the case. Hotspots can cause weaknesses in crust, and they could cause faulting, but the Hawaiian hotspot or Samoan hotspot in the Pacific Plate's not causing a giant continental rift in the Pacific Ocean and splitting it up into two continents.
For humanity, the Pacific Plate's instability is both a warning and an opportunity, a reminder that Earth's surface is never static, and a challenge to advance scientific monitoring so we can better anticipate the planet's next great shifts.
Wow, that's it? Okay, isn't it amazing how this video managed to say so much? They reached a runtime of almost 12 minutes, and yet they said basically nothing about their actual topic of the video, about how the Pacific Plate is cracking. And is this channel problematic? Well, it is giving wrong information, or at least it is just a waste of time. I also think there is some harm to making videos in the style of this Earthly channel here. You know, they make videos that I would have seen in 2015 made by a human about how the world is going to end, but then that world ending is in 2 million years, and yet it still makes you scared. I really don't like that style of video, but I guess it gets views. I mean, it gets more views than I do. But overall, I think this shows the importance of not using AI in your videos and actually researching them. If this Pacific Plate is cracking video was actually researched, I think it would have been a very, very interesting video. I mean, I hadn't heard about this study that said the Pacific Plate is cracking, and the method that's doing this is a strange pulley system from the tectonic plates, but nope, gotta use AI for that. But I think that is going to be all for today's video. If you enjoyed, and if you enjoyed the format of seeing me here, then please comment below what your thoughts were on this style. But I'll see you guys in the next one.